On day 3 of fantastic books, Labyrinths by Jorge Luis Borges. I first found these short stories in my early 20s and they blew me away with their creativity. Out of this one man's mind, there are so many different takes on the universe. It's like trying to see a four-dimensional space from this three-dimensional world. He is the master of getting us to think outside of our normal ways of thinking. One thing I love about Borges is that he only wrote short stories because he didn't have time to write out the longer stuff. He had so many ideas in his head. He said, if I wanted to write a novel, I would just write a review of the novel that I would have written. And when you see him just brimming over with ideas like that, you almost wish he was alive now to be using the AI systems, because he would be a master about working with these, and I'm sure they would come up with great stuff together. The one that stuck with me the most, even though all of his stories stuck with me in some way, I go back and reread them like, yeah, it made an impression upon my soul. It's never left for 20 years now. But the one about the endless library, it's one you hear a lot when you mention his work, but it is all of these people wandering through an endless library, and it's just books from head to ceiling, and they have every single combination of words and letters that are possible. So in there is the perfect finished encyclopedia. There are the lost books of Aristotle, but there are also the faked books of Aristotle. There's also the inverse of classic lost works. It is all human knowledge could be found in there, but it's so small compared to all of the gobbledygook that has no sense to it. And there's something both very inspiring about it and very haunting, especially now as it closer and closer to data overload and in this data deluge. But the endless library is such a seductive idea for all of us readers out there. And if you don't read anything else, just jump online and read some translator's version of that story, and it'll be enough to stick with you. The other thing I really like about Borges is that he seems like he's a really good guy. I've read almost everything he wrote, and you start to get to know someone at that point, and you hear other people mention him throughout their literary careers, and he seemed like a really beautiful soul. And the one story that's always fascinating is he started to go blind as he was getting older, and he was also just appointed the head of the Buenos Aires Library, arguably one of the very best libraries in the world for sure. And he said, it is not without some irony that I see God give me this library at the same time that he takes my sight. It's a story perfect enough for one of his stories.